Hello and welcome back. Tonight, I will be talking about an infamous case in Argentina, the Poisoner of Montserrat. This case shocked the nation because the culprit viewed money more valuable than human life, and it showed people how you can't just call anyone a friend. Hello, I am the Grin, and joining me tonight is the lovely
Amari.
Welcome to our podcast, a place where we do not shy away from the gruesome details, where some things may be triggering and hard to hear. Listener discretion is advised. So get yourself in the right space of mind and let's talk about dark shit.
In the intro, it kind of sounded like you were describing a pirate.
Well, she is definitely something.
Okay.
Okay. So tonight I'm going to be talking about María de las Mercedes Bernardina Boya Aponte de Murano.
Oh, I'm so glad you're the one doing this.
But she's better known as Yiya Murano. She was born in the 20th of May in 1930 in Corrientes, Argentina. She was the eldest of three children. She was the daughter of a military sergeant, which during the time of the military dictatorship in Argentina meant that her family was of high status. So this also meant that her family didn't really struggle for money. They weren't upper, like super upper class, more like middle class is what I would say. However, Yiya grew up very egotistical and ambitious, wanting nothing but wealth and determined to be in the highest of social class. Yiya wanted a very rich husband. That was on top of her list. This greed that she had was planted by her mother, actually, a woman named Candelaria, who always told her daughters to look for a rich man. That is what you should marry. Do not marry a man for love or happiness. Marry him for money.
That sounds like the American dream. No.
Oh my gosh, Muddy. Spitting out facts? I'm just kidding. Okay, so in 1953, at 23 years old, Yiya actually married Antonio Murano, a man who was 10 years older than her, and the heir to a big fortune. And in 1967, Yiya gave birth to their only child, a son named Martin. Since her husband did not want her to work and wanted her to care for the home, Yiya grew bored and found herself a very interesting hobby. She decided that she was going to start swindling people.
Yes. Interesting hobby. Yeah. Yeah.
A pastime.
Pastime.
So what Yiya did,
Like I said, pirate.
a pirate. Okay,
Sorry.
so Yiya devised a get-rich-quick scheme that she would implement on some powerful friends that she had. She convinced her friends, Nilda Gamba, Leila Chicha Formisano, and her cousin and slash best friend, Carmen Zulema del Giorgio de Venturini, to invest in her business.
You're giving me anxiety. Like how you're saying all these names, they sound so difficult.
Well, we're going to get to when I first heard about this case in the end, but I've read about this case for a while now, and I really, really wanted to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
But yes, she made her friends invest money into her business with the promises of doubling the money that they invested, which she eventually did because her friends invested a small amount, and in return, she gave them not only their money back, but double the earnings. And this made her friends believe that, you know what, Yiya's onto something. And they decided they were going to invest even more. So, like I mentioned, one of Yiya's closest friends was Carmen Zulema, who was also her cousin. Carmen was a widow for a great number of years. Her husband was an important businessman in Argentina, and when he passed, he left a hefty inheritance for Carmen. Carmen also had a daughter. So because of this inheritance, Carmen and her daughter never struggled. Carmen and Yiya had a very close relationship. Like I said, they were considered best friends. They would visit each other frequently, buy each other gifts, and Yiya would always bake cakes for Carmen. But in January of 1979, Yiya first presented her investment opportunity to Carmen. Carmen, convinced by Yiya after that first go, gave her 20 million pesos, and Yiya promised a great return. However, Carmen had Yiya sign a promissory note stating that in March of that same year, Yiya would return the money in full plus the earnings. Then, on March 24th, 1979, a few days before Carmen was supposed to get her money back, she began to feel ill. Apparently, the pain was so great that it made her leave her apartment to go ask for help. But right when she got to the stairs, she tumbled down, basically, rolled all the way down from the top to the bottom. There, a doorman named Jose Gonzalez witnessed the whole thing and immediately called an ambulance. Hearing all the commotion, neighbors around the area went out to see what was going on. And that's when Yiya appears. She was around the neighborhood, hears the commotion, sees what's happening, and immediately goes to the doorman and says, I need a set of keys to go into her apartment and notify her friends and family. I need her phone book. Mm-hmm. So then Jose believed Yiya and let her in. Because like I said, Yiya would frequently visit Carmen. Carmen would frequently visit Yiya. They were really good friends. However, when Yiya left the building, she was holding a small bottle and some papers crying, this is my third friend this year who has died. Carmen died on her way to the hospital. Her cause of death was signed as non-traumatic cardiac arrest. However, days later, Carmen's daughter goes straight to the police. She was very worried about the suspicious circumstances surrounding her mother's death. She didn't believe that it was cardiac arrest. Her mother was in great health, and that she also noticed that a promissory note was missing in her apartment. She explained to the police that the doorman let Yiya into the apartment and saw her leave with papers and a bottle. So she had her suspicions against Yiya. And her mother, Carmen, also told her about the investments she made to Yiya, and that a few days before her death, she was talking about how excited she was that she was going to get her money back. And this is what made her very suspicious.
So this is how she's swindling, by killing.
Mm-hmm. So the police agreed to investigate, and an autopsy was performed on Carmen's body, where they discovered large amounts of cyanide in her stomach. Now, Yiya became the person of interest in this case because of her relationship with Carmen, and she was the first person to go into Carmen's apartment after her death. After the police investigated her a little bit, they soon discovered that on February 11th of 1979, her friend Nilda Gamba died as well under suspicious circumstances, 6 weeks before Carmen. On February 9th, 1979, Nilda went to have dinner over at Yiya's house. She stayed there very late. The next day, she had a severe stomach ache. Her doctor, which was also her neighbor, prescribed her some medicine and told her to stay in bed, which she didn't. But she phoned Yiya to come over and take care of her because, again, Yiya was a really good friend of hers. Yiya agreed and stayed by Nilda's side while she was trying to recover. Yiya fed her, gave her tea, but then soon Nilda also died.
Oh my gosh, she's doing this like really close together. Like she's not trying to hide that she did it.
Is she?
Well, she did it. Like she did something. Now I'm questioning it.
Yeah.
Question myself.
No, she's not hiding this at all. She's like going to them before she's supposed to give them back their money.
Yeah. And supposedly they're like good friends and everything. Like
good friends, yeah. Especially her cousin, her best friend.
Yeah, see, that's
told you.
You made me question myself. Okay, good. Continue.
Good. Now, when Nilda's doctor returned, he found his patient dead. Then he asked Yiya, why didn't she call him? To which she replied, I wasn't authorized to do so. The doctor put down on her cause of death as non-traumatic cardiac arrest.
So, question.
Yes.
So that is what the doctor put down.
Mm-hmm.
Do they not test if somebody was poisoned, or they don't test for that unless asked?
They were suspicious.
How old was she again? The cousin?
The cousin?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get her age, but she was of age. She was like, I would say probably maybe 50s, 60s. I'm so sorry. I didn't get her exact age, but I know she was a bit older.
See, I wonder with that, like just because, something happened, she fell down the stairs, it had to have been, cardiac, a heart issue.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
that
immediately
makes
what they
me
go.
wonder. It makes me
That's
wonder though, like when there's other situations like that,
mm-hmm.
do they even ever test for poison? Like, oh, maybe, or do they have to have a thought like this seems a bit off for them
But I'm guessing that it's probably one of those that you have to get permission from the family.
to test for if your family member was poisoned?
Yeah, I'm assuming so. The reason why I say that is because for Carmen, they didn't do an autopsy until her daughter said,
Mm-hmm.
do an autopsy on my mom.
Hmm.
Police immediately applied to get Nilda's body exhumed and perform an autopsy. However, just like with Carmen, traces of cyanide were found in her stomach. They also discovered that Nilda had invested great sums of money into Yiya's scheme. So the police continued their investigation, which led them to a third death. Leila Chicha Formasino was another close friend of Yiya's. Following the sudden death of their friend Nilda, they arranged a little getaway. They were going to go to the coast. However, Yiya paid Leila a visit before they went. She wanted to prepare for their little getaway, so she went over and knocked on her door. When she knocked, nobody answered. So she left a message with a doorman, Leila's doorman, named Carlos Alberto Zamora. A few hours later, she came back desperate to see her friend. She asked the doorman's wife, because the doorman wasn't there, if she's seen Leila, to which the doorman's wife replied, but wait, earlier today, I saw her leave with you. To which Yiya replied, yes, I know, but she came back because she was feeling ill. Later that night, Yiya came back to Leila's apartment with tickets to the cinema, but there was no answer again. After 3 days of nobody being able to contact Leila, the doorman called the police and they were able to get into her apartment where they discovered her dead on her chair with the TV on. The cause of death that was signed was natural causes.
What?
Yeah. The police, again, exhumed her body, performed an autopsy, and they discovered cyanide in her stomach. They also found out that Leila had also invested money into Yiya's scheme.
So when are the police gonna be like, oh hey, common factor?
There's a
Why
woman
is her
out there. There's a woman
with
out there.
everybody?
Yeah. So on April 27th, 1979, Yiya Murano was finally arrested at her home. When she was interviewed by police, she denied all charges against her. She admitted that all three women invested in her business. However, she presented the promissory notes that she had signed.
And she had them, not them.
She had them, saying that this proves that I paid them back in full because I have them.
That's dirty. She would go into their places just to get those notes.
And then
That's
she
dirty.
also said that each woman knew the risks and rewards of giving her money.
I just think like they knew the risks. I was gonna kill them eventually. They knew.
They knew what they were getting themselves into.
Oh my God, she is horrible.
She's a horrible woman. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about her son here in a moment, but let's finish off what eventually happens to Yiya. So the prosecutor demanded that she be given a full life sentence without the possibility of parole. She was sent to prison to await her trial, but there she became very, very popular with inmates and staff. And on May 6, 1980, still awaiting her trial, she was found by a guard lying in her cell with pain, where she was taken immediately to a hospital and surgery was performed on her. She had one of her lungs removed, apparently.
While at the hospital?
While at the hospital.
Jeez.
There, she asked one of the nurses to give her a pen and paper, and she told the nurse, I'm going to write my version of this story, since nobody wants to believe me. There, she actually, according to the nurse, actually writes out her side of the story, but she made a full recovery, to which she never released what she wrote.
So there's no actual evidence of that. There's just the nurse saying that.
The nurse's point of view.
Okay.
On June 15th, 1982, after 3 years in detention, a judge acquitted all charges against her and she was released.
What?
Mm-hmm.
I hate. There's no evidence. Okay, it reminds me of another story, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Which she had all the promissory notes. I don't know.
This is probably not the same, but I'm just thinking of freaking Charles Manson, he didn't do anything. There was no evidence, or there is no physical evidence on him, but
Yeah,
he's serving.
exactly.
So okay.
However, the prosecutor appealed the ruling, infuriated as to what the judge decided. And in June in 1985, the courts overturned their decision and sentenced Yiya to life in prison. However, in 2001, she was released after serving only 16 years of her sentence for good behavior. Yes, Yiya's case is infamous in Argentina. Reason being, she is the second female serial killer recorded in their history or known. First being Margarita Selena Herling, which if you guys want me to talk about, I will. But there are books and plays about her. There are people who have a lot of theories around this case. Some people think that she didn't do it, which I don't know how you can think that way. I think she is definitely guilty.
She was connected to every single one of them.
Exactly.
What do you mean she didn't do it? She went in their apartments like afterwards. Like,
right? And then there's also some people who have theories that Yiya actually killed 2 more people, but that there was never any evidence that pointed towards her.
Are they talking about the 2 that passed away before her cousin?
No, she was sentenced of those 3. There's 2 additional ones.
2 additionals.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But again, yeah, no evidence against her. As for Yiya, she had always claimed that she was innocent, and she always stayed true to that. She never said, I could have done this, I could have done that. She did admit to swindling people, but she never said that she was a killer. And she stayed that way until her death in April 26th of 2014. It's kind of crazy because if you go on YouTube and search up her name, there are like talk show hosts who invited her over to their show, talked to her. There's people who had tea with her, ate with her. Again, this case is infamous in Argentina. Some people like really were interested in her version. And it's kind of like some of the interviews are kind of twisted because this woman is drinking tea in one of them, and then she's giving the tea to the host saying, here, drink this. And the host, knowing, what she's known for, would always say no. But I always found them really
that's dirty. Like
her interviews are always, I found that kind of eerie. Her son.
She's making fun of it.
Exactly.
It's
horrible. Her son has gone on talk show hosts saying that this woman is actually guilty, that he does not see her as a mother, and says that this woman was basically a monster, was a leech and craved attention.
What does she do to him? Or is it based on all the murders?
So what I found out from some of the interviews, because when you search up his interviews come up as well. And his interviews are a bit more recent, well, the ones I've seen. And he has always said that he never viewed Yiya as a mom because she was basically never there. The only mother figure that he ever had in his life was his nanny. And he felt that this woman was just somebody who would use him. And it was discovered that his dad, Yiya's husband at the time, is not actually his dad. And that kind of...
So he just hates her.
Yeah, basically. Yiya's husband eventually did leave her after her release. She actually did go on a talk show host, a very infamous one, because people always talk about it. And she goes on to talk about how her husband is still in love with her and that nothing was going on. He believed her, but then he made an interview and basically said, no, I'm leaving this woman.
Damn.
Yeah. Yes. And then in around the 2000s, early 2000s, an Argentinian writer named Marissa Grinstein, who I believe was a reporter at the time, but she decided to write a book about female killers, specifically in Argentina. And in her book, one of the chapters is Yiya's case, where she talks about each of the murders and Yiya's demise. But in 2006, her book was actually turned into a TV show. And the TV show was so successful because it stayed true to the book, where each episode was different. Each episode was about one of these killers. infamous cases in Argentina. And then one of the episodes was Yiya's. And in the end of that episode, because it's the only episode that's different from all the other ones, in the end of that one, the actual killer goes up to the camera and says why she's innocent and why she didn't commit these crimes.
Why Yiya didn't?
Mm-hmm. And then, but each episode, it's not actually the kill. It's dramatized.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's recreating what led to the killings.
So they don't believe her. They don't believe she did it then. How could they not? I don't know. Okay. I don't.
It's a very polarizing case. Honestly, I think she did it, but
maybe they have their reasons of why they don't believe she did it. But
I've read the book. I've read the book. In case you guys are curious, the book is Mujeres Asesinas. The show is called Mujeres Asesinas. If you want to see her episode, it's called Yiya Murano Envenenadora, which in English translates to Yiya Murano Poisoner.
I was going to say, can you slow it down a bit? Because
Yiya Murano Poisoner.
Okay.
However, in the book, the case is titled Yiya Murano Amiga, which translates to Yiya Murano Friend, because what Greenstein wanted to do is, after each killer's name, put their modus operandi.
I'm just going to include this little part right here.
Yes.
You guys are going to be able to tell very soon or already that Grin's favorite show or book is called, what is it? Mujeres
Asesinas.
Asesinas.
Yes, because like I talk about in our intro, the show that I was talking about that made me discover true crime and basically grow a fascination with it is Mujeres Asesinas. It's a very, very interesting show, but it's very, very dark. It's not for everybody. It shows all types of violence towards anybody. They're kids, women, men, all types of abuse imaginable. Like I said, each episode is taking on a different case, and it's dramatization.
Yeah.
Dramatization of what led these killers to commit the crime. Hers, when I first saw it, long time ago, because her episode isn't gruesome at all, because she's a poisoner. But then it's kind of dark because this woman, it shows how she was so close to these women, and then in the end, she did not care about their lives, and one by one, she would kill them.
It's heartless.
It's very, very heartless, especially for Nilda, which was the first woman who died, because she was with her the whole time, feeding her, giving her things to drink, caring for her. And I'm saying that with parentheses, quotation marks, while slowly she was actually killing her. And the actress that plays her is incredible because she goes, it's all about, now I'm talking about acting instead of the actual case, but it's incredible. You guys should watch the show. But the actress that plays her goes from a very worried friend to like, you can see her facial expressions just change in like seconds after each woman just dies. Like without a care in the world. And yes, that's where I first heard about this case. I've researched it a lot, but like I said, her son just gave interviews recently, and he has always said that Yiya was just terrible, and she is definitely guilty of all these crimes.
I don't even want to call her a pirate because now I feel like I'm putting a bad name on pirates.
No,
she's horrible.
She's
heartless. She just doesn't.
Very vile.
Shit.
Yeah, she was very, very vile. I don't know. And then to like, I don't know. For me, it's like to not care about like a friend like that is just horrible.
Friend, family member who she was close with.
Family member.
Jeez, even her own her son, she didn't care.
She didn't care.
Like, hey,
and then something I actually completely forgot to mention is that in one of the interviews, which made him really realize how this woman just didn't care, is that he actually took her to one of her little nights out with guys, because she would always...
Nights out?
Nights out. Nights out.
Okay. I was like, I like that term too, lights out. Nights out.
Nights out with men, because she cheated on his dad frequently, and she would sometimes take him with her, and he would witness.
That poor kid. My God, I hope he's okay now. Like, he grew up not like his mom.
It's really heartbreaking, but in the interviews, he goes really in depth about all the trauma that happened. But yes, that is the case of Yiya Murano. So let me know if you want to hear about the first recorded female serial killer in Argentina, and I will definitely do that. So remember to be well
Be safe.
and see you next time.